Hi, everyone, and welcome to Your Message, Your Mission, and Your Mindset in Business. And this podcast episode is part of our Coronacoaster series, which is our mini series of ways to help you through the next phase of lockdown as we move into the winter of pandemic. So these are a series of podcasts with experts who can help in a variety of areas of self-care and mindset. So in the second podcast of the series, we are talking all things sleep and rest with sleep expert Johann Callaghan, and I am absolutely delighted to have her here today. Hi, Johann, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Lynsey. I'm really excited to share some insights and wisdoms to help people to get their power back and energy. And yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Brilliant, brilliant. I'm so delighted to have you here today. And look, I know that sleep's a huge issue for some people. I know even, I know a few insomniacs myself, and I sometimes find, the brain is whirring along as I'm trying to get to sleep. So I totally understand that this can be a huge issue with some people. So how did you get into this area of expertise yourself, and what sort of effect has it had on your life and your clients' lives, I suppose?
Well, it really all started when I discovered the power of our mind. And that happened when I lost my daughter in 2007. I went through terrible grief and upset and all that naturally. And it was even more enhanced because when I was very young, I had a child very young. So my association with having children was not very pleasant. So it was difficult for me to get pregnant when I was, in 2007. So it was like a double impact. And I was in a very, very dark place. But through the whole process of it, I found a spiritual lady, who really helped me understand about the mind and all about self-love, forgiveness, self-compassion, all that kind of stuff. And I thought, wow, this is powerful. When it comes from a place of who you are being, how your life can unfold and how you can have more control over your life and, your emotions and everything. And then where sleep came into that, then I joined a mastermind group, and I had already started on the venture of doing massage work and Reiki and energy healing, all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And my mentor said to me, "You got to write a book." And of course, I didn't know what to be writing a book about. And I said, "What will I write a book about?" He wants to get
just write a book,
Yeah, just write a book. And I'm like, what? So I realized when I thought about it, I went back to my client consultation forms, and I twigged that everybody, or most people, were tired and exhausted and fed up and complaining and all this kind of stuff. And I went, oh my God, people need more sleep, like better quality sleep. And that's when I wrote the book. And through writing that book, I found so much research that it even got me even more curious, because there's so much that sleep can help us with, on a physical level, on a mental level, on all levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
And impacting relationships as well. So that's when I said people have to know about this, and so that's why I love the sleep, and I became the expert in the whole area.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Like, I'm actually reading a book at the moment called Burnout, by a pair of, they're identical twins, two sisters, and the piece I'm reading about at the moment is sleep and rest, and it's just fascinating how much it impacts on all areas of your life. So I'm dying to hear a bit more about this. So one of the things that you can hear a lot over the different things being told about, that these are facts and these are the myths about sleep. So what are the common myths that you hear about sleep, and what are actually the true facts that totally debunk these myths?
Yeah, there really is a lot of myths out there. One of the biggest ones probably is you don't need as much sleep when you age, when you're older. People have this understanding that you don't need as much sleep, and you do when you're an adult, 60, 70, 80 years of age. We still require the same amount of sleep. And I have to say as well, it's individual as well. So there's no set amount of hours, it's individual, but your sleep doesn't decline. The only thing that happens when we age is our melatonin, which is our sleep hormone, naturally decreases. And melatonin is responsible for getting us to sleep, but also for transitioning us through all the different sleep phases. So we have a whole cycle of different stages of sleep that we go through during the nighttime. Some people may know it as when you're dreaming, your REM sleep. So that's one of the myths. And also older people tend to have more arthritis type of pain, or they may be on more medications, and wear and tear kind of thing. And medications can interfere with sleep as well. And then pain, if you're in pain as well, that's going to interrupt your sleep. So these are some of the reasons why older people tend to not sleep as much, or their sleep is more interrupted maybe. But that doesn't mean that's the way it has to be. You can implement sleep hygiene and routines and habits that will lessen the effect of all those things, especially starting off early. So that's really, really important. So, requiring less sleep as you get older is not true.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's probably one of the biggest ones. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. And you mentioned there the sleep cycle. So how does the sleep cycle work from the moment we go to bed to the moment we wake up? What are the stages?
Yeah, the sleep cycle is really an important one to understand, because we sleep, we'd have maybe 4 to 5 cycles a night. Okay. Within each cycle, there's different stages. So we'd start off with a very light sleep. Now, 50% of our sleep during the nighttime is light sleep. And there is a purpose for the light sleep. It helps to transition us into the next stage of sleep. And after the stages of sleep, our core body temperature cools down, our heart rate goes down, all of this. And these are all precursors for getting us into that deep phase of sleep, for preparing us for the deep phase of sleep. And stages 3 and 4, this is our deep sleep. And this is where all the healing and the repairing is done. This is absolutely vitally important. This is where all the cells are regenerated. This is where the immune system is enhanced, if you like. An awful lot of our antibodies and our T cells, our killer cells, all these are all built up only in a deep phase of sleep. This is why a lot of people who do workouts, in the gym or whatever, that we know the muscles break down. We absolutely have to have the equivalent amount of deep sleep to help to repair all the muscles, because that's actually what's happening. It's breaking down when we're building our muscle, and then it's repairing at nighttime when we're sleeping. So it's absolutely vital for the sleep. This is part of the process. And then after the deep phase of sleep is our REM sleep. And our REM sleep is rapid eye movement. So this is the eyes, you can see the eyes kind of moving as you're sleeping. And this is where we dream. And dreaming, some people will say they don't dream, but everybody does dream. You may not necessarily remember them, okay?
Yeah.
And it's the purpose of dreaming is really, there's so much going on in REM sleep, but I suppose the main thing is really our mental health, our emotional health. It processes all our emotions during the daytime. And when we're dreaming, the logical brain is shut down. So that's why we have these mad, bizarre dreams sometimes, because the logical component of the brain is shut down.
Yeah.
But there's always, if you can actually read into your dreams and get some insights from it, because your subconscious is trying to give you a message. So dreaming can really be beneficial to us if we pay attention to them. So they're the phases of sleep. We'd spend about 25% in deep sleep and 25 in REM, and then the rest in light sleep. But they all work together, and they're all very important for each other.
And do we have these cycles like throughout the night, or is this just one long cycle? Do they
So
phases in terms of, does this happen to us 2 or 3 times a night, this whole series of cycles, or does it just happen once?
No, we'd have a few cycles.
Okay.
So one cycle typically it's about 90 minutes for one cycle.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, which is your non-REM sleep. That's your like passive sleep. And then your REM sleep, then stage 5. This is an active sleep, because there's a lot your brain, there's a lot going on, that the brain is very active. So that whole process will take about 90 minutes typically. And that happens when that finishes. You start back again in a very light stage of sleep, and then you go through your deep and REM. Now, each of the different sections of the sleep cycle changes as you progress through the night. So, for example, our deep sleep, we would have most of our deep sleep in the first half of the night. And in the second half of the night, our REM periods would be longer. So in total, most of our REM sleep happens in the second half of the night. So this is typically where, you may wake up. More than likely, if you use an alarm clock in the morning to wake you up, you may wake up from a dream, because we tend to be dreaming an awful lot more towards the early hours of the morning. Yeah, it's quite fascinating actually how it all works together. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because I always have the little sleep cycle on my phone, and I love to look at the way the graph goes up and then it goes down, and
Yeah.
then it goes up and then it goes down, and to see how much deep sleep I'm getting. But I know you just mentioning dreams there. I had this mental dream there recently. My partner was in it, and like I woke up in a fright because I thought I'd lost him. And my own partner's a neuroscientist, so when I tell him about dreams, he's just like rolling his eyes, going, "Oh yeah, whatever." He's
That
like,
is so
"You and your
funny.
mad dreams." But just in terms of the neuroscience of things, and I'm always looking at the scientific
Mm.
reasoning behind things, having a scientific background. But how do you think the recent scientific or neuroscientific studies have helped us understand or highlight the importance of sleep recently?
It's a really exciting time right now because it's really neuroscience is really becoming a big thing right now.
Massive, yeah.
And and it's really revealing so much stuff that we didn't know before. And in terms of sleep, one of the biggest breakthroughs, I suppose, in the last 20 years is they discovered that when we're asleep at nighttime, because another myth is that the brain is just dead. You're out to the world, you're conked out, you're unconscious. Well, you are unconscious, but one of the myths is that your brain is just dead. It's doing nothing. It's very quiet.
Mm.
But at nighttime, your brain is doing a lot of work.
Hmm.
And one of the things they found out through the neuroscience and research is there's this process of cleansing, this brain clearing at nighttime when we're asleep. And the cerebral spinal fluid, so this is a clear fluid, that's in the spine and in the brain. This actually cleanses out the whole brain, but the tissues, when we're unconscious, only when we're in a deep phase of sleep. So this is why deep sleep is really, really important. This is where the good quality sleep is.
Mm.
So it's only when we're here, the brain tissues actually shrink. And this is what allows this fluid to come into the brain and literally flush out any toxins that are in the brain at nighttime. And
Wow.
it's fascinating. And there
Yeah.
is a particular toxin called beta amyloid. Um, and this has been known to be present in Alzheimer's patients, okay, in
Okay.
clusters,
Yeah.
and it's a toxic protein. But this, if you're getting really good, deep quality sleep at nighttime, this is clearing out the brain and reducing those toxins in the brain. It's a whole detoxification process, but the brain in particular, this is really only been discovered in the last number of years, which is really, really exciting.
Mm. That's amazing. I didn't know about that. I must ask my partner a bit more about beta amyloids.
Absolutely. And another fantastic research that was done as well in this whole epidemic at the moment, with flu and the virus going around and what have you. Our immune system is so much more susceptible to viruses and bacteria when we're sleep deprived. And there was a
Yeah.
study done with a group of participants, and they were allowed to sleep for 4 hours for
Mm.
6 nights. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other group were allowed to sleep normally. What they found was that they produced less than 50% of the antibodies. So these are the T cells that I was talking about, the killer cells,
Yeah.
than the other group. And what this shows is, the way a lot of people will go to the doctor and get their flu shot, for the
Mm.
winter season. So what this is, the message in this is, if you're not sleeping well the week before you get your flu shot,
Yeah.
you're at a higher risk. Um, well, not a higher risk, but it's less effective. You're
Mm.
producing less than 50% of the antibodies. So it's not really effective. So make sure you're getting really good sleep before you go for, if that's what you do, going for your flu shots. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really, really significant.
That's really interesting. So sleep deprivation can have a huge impact on different things. And that actually was one of the questions I wanted to ask was
Yeah, the immune
what are
system.
the impacts?
Yeah.
Like if that's just one impact of sleep deprivation, what other impacts are there on us in terms of, not getting enough sleep? How does it impact our daily lives?
Well, there's lots of things. And just while we're on the immune system, I'll just give you one more
Yeah.
statistic, which blew me away. And I found this from Matthew Walker, and he says this quite a lot in his videos. They did a study, and so Matthew Walker is a neuroscientist and a
Mm.
sleep expert and all that as well. And his book, Why We Sleep. But he said that when people sleep for 5 hours or less a night, their immune system can be comprised up to 70%. which means because at nighttime, do you remember when I said in the deep phase of sleep, this is where all the antibodies, all the T cells, these are the killer cells, are actually made. So 70%, up to 70% less of those killer. And this is building up our forces, really getting that armor on, So if we're not getting really good sleep, we're more at risk of contracting bacteria or viruses or colds and flu, whatever. We're more at risk. So sleep really does help to build up and keep that immune system strong. Some other things, there's short-term effects and long-term. If you've one bad night of sleep, you'll probably find the next day that you find it difficult to make decisions. Your concentration is very poor. You're not very focused. Your performance levels go right down as well. You're just not in the humor of doing much at all. Your memory tends to be affected as well. You can't remember things or recall memory. So there's lots of things that can affect you. You can also find that our hormones, there's two particular hormones in the body that they can make us more hungry during the daytime if we're tired, because we're not going to have energy. So obviously the body in its natural intelligent instincts makes us more hungry, right? Because it's fuel. But it actually makes us crave the wrong foods. It makes us crave
sugary ones
because you get a quick hit of glucose and that converts quickly. So you're going to pile on the weight. It's going to contribute to all that, and we know sugar is bad for us, or glucose, whatever, too much. So that's a massive impact. And then long term, if this goes on continuously, it can take 10 years for diseases to develop, but if it goes on continuously, you're talking about obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. So these are very much correlated with sleep deprivation over a long period of time as well. So there's lots of impact. Mental health,
that's huge.
massive.
Yeah, I mean, who would have linked, type 2 diabetes with, not getting enough sleep, and there's so many people out there that, obviously are at the moment probably not getting a huge amount of sleep. And I suppose the reason or the aim of this Coronacoaster series of podcasts was to because I primarily would work with women, female entrepreneurs, it's to help them be more resilient at this time and to look after themselves better. So in terms of, doing that, how can you help busy business women or women all over the world just trying to keep a house running, keep a job running, keep a business running? How can they help themselves at the moment in terms of getting good sleep?
I really get that. I really do. And something, it can be quite difficult to be an entrepreneur and keep the house running, doing the school runs and running the business. You really have got to be so diligent and disciplined.
Yeah.
And really have your day set out and all of that. And for me personally, I found that you're trying to get as much done in the time that you have. And I find that with a lot of people. So time seems to be an issue. And the thing is, you talk about time management. How can you manage time? I know the idea behind it is to get more done, but you can't manage time because there's the same amount of time in the day for everyone. It's really managing your tasks and your activities. So what I say to people is, and this may sound a bit counterintuitive, but what I do and I have found has really worked is I don't try and do things back to back and maximize and optimize the amount of time that I have in the day, because you will get burnt out really, really quickly. You're going to be a nag. You're going to be irritating the people in your house, right? And your kids, and you're not going to be your best self at all, right? So
that's just me on a good day.
yeah. So it's really important. What I like to do is go out walking first thing in the morning and get in the sunshine. It really helps to reset my circadian rhythm. And that is, I'm starting off the day with me time.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not answering emails. Do not answer emails or look at your phone first thing in the morning, because all you're doing there is responding to other people's requests. So you're giving your power away to other people straight away. So first thing in the morning, do something for you. Just for the first hour, have a morning routine, for your power hour, first thing. Because when you get up out of the bed, your momentum hasn't really started. So you create your own momentum, a really good momentum. Start your day off with gratitude. Really raise up your vibration, okay, and have a great, really look forward to your day and set the intention for the day. But also during the daytime, if you're feeling tired, sit down and have a cup of tea or go for a quiet stroll or do something quiet, something that will help you recharge your batteries. I won't say take a nap, I might meditate. or I use CO glasses. I use either light therapy and audio, and I use them for maybe 15 minutes or something. And really, I use that to hack my brain, because I do a lot of courses and train, and I take part in them as well. So if I'm taking in a lot of information, I'll do this quiet time, because it helps to retain that information. But also,
Yeah.
I get a boost of energy and a boost of performance when I take time out. So that's why I'm saying that sounds counterintuitive. Take a break and you will find you will get more done.
Yeah.
And everyone is different. Everyone has different ways of managing their day. And it's important to respect, we all have different individual personalities.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's important to know that about yourself as well. But I think the most important thing is to really start your day off for yourself and take time out during the daytime as well to rest.
Yeah, yeah, and that's actually exactly what I was reading in that book, the Burnout book. Yesterday, I was walking the dog, and I always listen to a podcast or something,
Yeah.
or an audible book or whatever when I'm walking the dog, and that's exactly what they were saying. That we need up to 10 hours a day of rest in terms of between sleep and actually taking time out for ourselves. And there's so many women out there who feel guilty for sleeping. I mean, how does
Yeah,
that even work? I feel
exactly.
guilty for like staying in bed an extra half hour kind of thing. And, it's not, it's helping you rest and recuperate. And as you say, reset your brain for the following day, and it makes such a huge difference.
I really do, absolutely. And like your whole mindset, your whole outlook and attitude towards sleep,
Yeah.
like you were saying, some people say, "Oh, sleep is for wimps," and I don't have time for sleep, and even that language.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's really negative.
Yeah,
Really.
you're not respecting sleep and you're not valuing sleep. And if you don't
Yeah.
respect and value something, you're not going to do it great, and
Yeah. And you know the difference between when you have a good night's sleep and you don't. As you said, like you make really bad decisions, or you can't make like cohesive decisions, and you almost feel a bit like punch drunk, you're kind of wandering around in a daze, and
yeah,
it's so detrimental to you. I know if I get anything less than 7.5 hours sleep, I'm no good to anybody. So
yeah, I
I
love my
completely
sleep.
get that, and as you say, if we're doing it in 90-minute waves, you have to make sure you don't interrupt those patterns either.
Yeah.
So one of the other questions I wanted to ask in terms of those patterns as well is, what's the difference between a long night's sleep, or like a good night's sleep, and like a genuinely quality
Oh,
night's
yeah.
in terms of the cycles? How
Yeah.
do you make that differentiation?
Really good question. Really, really good question. So a lot of people will say to me, I slept 8 hours last night, and
Mm,
do I need more? I wake up in a daze, or my brain fog, or
mm,
I still feel tired, and all this kind of thing, and there could be lots of reasons why that's happening. So that's quantity sleep. So it's the
yeah.
amount of time that you're sleeping. Okay. So that's quantity of sleep. But we need to have a combination of quantity and quality. And
Mm,
the reason we need quality sleep is the quality sleep is where that deep restorative sleep is. So we need quality sleep for our memory,
yeah.
because at nighttime, all our memories, the important ones that your brain decides to keep,
Yeah.
um, it's imprinted into your long-term memory, if you like. It's consolidated, right? That only happens when we're sleeping deeply, and the healing, repair, and all the immune system I spoke about earlier. Oh my God, I cannot emphasize that enough. Like that is so important and
Really.
our immune system is the first line of defense with anything. So that's quality sleep. So it's really getting that deep phase of quality sleep. And the best time, some people, there's night owls and morning larks and all this kind of thing.
Mhm.
And really, if you're serious about your deep sleep, the best time to get your deep sleep, because remember I said the first half of the night is where you do most of your naturally, that you do
Yeah.
most of your good quality. So between the hours of say 11 o'clock and 3 p.m. So if you can be in bed and asleep by say 11 o'clock,
Mm.
that's when you're going to have the most optimized deep sleep. Now there are night owls, okay, and that's
Yeah.
it's not their fault that they're night owls.
My partner would be the same. I'd be in bed by 11 at night, and he might go to bed till like 2
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
morning.
And
So
it's
I
important not
totally
to beat
understand.
yourself up about that. If you're a night owl,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes you can bring it back.
Yeah.
You can go to bed half an hour, three quarters an hour early with
Mm.
habits and what have you. But
Yeah.
Sometimes it can also be, genetic as well. So don't beat yourself up if you're a night owl.
Mm.
And so it's just to know that, that between 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning, because that's when most of the detoxifying, if you look at the Chinese clock, all our organs in our body would have a 2-hour window where it's optimized, if you like. So between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning is liver. And we know liver is involved in detoxification, but not just physical chemicals in our body, but also emotional toxins, and the liver is doing processing all of that. So it's really important that we get good quality deep sleep there at that time. So that's quality sleep. So if you can get it as early as you can, go to bed, a reasonable time, then you're optimizing your deep quality sleep. But some of the things that can interfere with quality sleep is a lot of time is sleep apnea. A lot of people will say, oh, I've slept the 8 hours, but I still feel wrecked. A lot of the time it could be you may have, and the reason I bring that up is there's a lot of people that have the sleep apnea and they don't realize it. So if you have a partner that says you're snoring very loudly, I know my husband does, and for a long time there was a lot of denial about it. But anyway, we found out that he had the sleep apnea. And if you have sleep apnea and it's untreated, it can severely impact your health because you're depriving your body of oxygen, and you can end up with heart disease in the long term, obesity and type 2 diabetes. So that's what can come from that if it's untreated. So,
and what's the definition of sleep apnea? What does it actually, how would you know if you had it, or what are the symptoms of it?
Sleep apnea is when you have this, it's like a cessation of breath. So it's when you stop breathing for a couple of seconds maybe, and it could be even 30 seconds or longer, right? And the brain, what happens is you stop breathing and the brain wakes you up to alert you that you're not breathing, and you take a big deep breath, like a gasp. And it can sound quite frightening, right? Like I remember this with my husband, and at times when I couldn't see his chest rising and I'd be, is he dead? Now, I know it sounds like, yeah, I used to.
Sorry for laughing, it's not funny.
Like it is, I know well, it is now. I can laugh now at it. But I used to sit up in the bed and go, is he? And I'd feel him to see if he was warm, right? But like that's what was going through my head at the time. And I'd be looking to see if his chest is rising or if he's, from breathing.
Yeah.
And then he'd take a big gasp or whatever, and sometimes he'd cough and then he'd move around or whatever.
Scary, yeah.
I didn't know what sleep. Now this is before I got into the whole sleep thing, right? And like I had nights and nights of not getting enough sleep myself because of this. We sleep in separate rooms now. It's called a sleep divorce. That's what we call it, because it prevents the real thing. Yeah. But there's nothing else we could do, like, because he has a CPAP machine. This is it's an airflow that helps to keep the airways opened. But sleep apnea can be, a lot of people are undiagnosed, and so if your partner says you snore, if you snore really, really loudly, like take the roof down, that's a sure sign. So just go to a doctor and ask for a sleep lab test and see what the results are. There is treatment for it. A lot of the time it may be that you're overweight, but the throat, if the throat is very big, this is putting pressure on the trachea, the airways, and this can be, now there are thin people who have sleep apnea as well. But mostly, a lot of the time, if you lose weight, and it has been reversed, it has been, people who have had it reversed through diet and looking after themselves and losing weight. So that's sleep apnea, and that's one of the reasons why you may wake up after 8 hours of sleep and still feel a bit crappy.
Oh, that's incredible. Like I'd heard of sleep apnea. I wasn't quite sure what it was. But it sounds like, it sounds really scary for a start. And as you say, like there are ways to reverse it, which is great, and prevent all of those other diseases happening after the fact. Something you mentioned earlier was the circadian rhythm. And I meant to ask you, what is the connection, or what's the link in terms of your circadian rhythm with your kind of your day, and how does that work into your sleep then? Because I know there's certain hormones released at certain times of the day to try and help you to either wake up or relax. So how does that work hand in hand with your sleep pattern?
So the circadian rhythm is, we all work in rhythms, like everything's rhythm, like even our seasons and, our days is 24 hours. So there's this 24-hour biological process, if you like, and it's in all living creatures and, anything living really. And it's primarily dictated or influenced by light and darkness.
Yeah.
So in terms of our body rhythms, so during the daytime we have our daytime hormones, and at nighttime we have our nighttime hormones. And this is the rhythm. And then all our organs have rhythms as well. So I spoke briefly about the Chinese clock, and the liver is most active between 1 and 3. That's when it does most of its work, right? It's still working all the time, but that's when it's very active.
Yeah.
And different organs have different times for that. Our kidneys and bowels work best first thing in the morning. Well, kidneys is earlier in the morning, and bowels. So we have a rhythm, our whole body, our body clocks and everything. In terms of the hormones, cortisol and melatonin. So these two hormones primarily, these would work inadvertently with each other. So cortisol, we know, is our stress hormone. It gets us up in the morning. It gets us focused. And cortisol does have a purpose. A lot of people associate it as the baddie, right? Because it's a stress hormone. But we do need a certain amount of stress, right? It's what gets us up in the morning.
Yeah.
It's naturally highest in the morning time. But in our daily life, what's going on right now is we've a lot of concerns and upsets and anxiety and depression, right? And this is influencing our hormones and obviously our sleeping patterns. So cortisol is supposed to be naturally high in the morning, but very low in the evening time, because we want cortisol to be low so that we can go to sleep. Melatonin is highest in the evening time, preparing us for sleep and transition us through the whole night. But what's happening now is we're going to bed, and we're going to bed with anxiety, and we've a lot of cortisol in our system, so we can't get sleep. A lot of thoughts in our head, and so that's the whole circadian rhythm. So if we can get aligned to our circadian rhythm, we have a natural dip in the afternoon. You may have heard of the siesta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they
Very familiar with that.
Yeah. And but we do have a natural dip, and a lot of people think if we have an afternoon lunch, that's what's making us tired, but it's not necessarily. We actually have a natural dip in the afternoon, and that's probably the best time to have a nap if you do need to have a nap.
Yeah. And is that caused by a hormone, or just
it's natural? It's a natural dip. Like our body temperature fluctuates, oscillates throughout the daytime, but between 1 and 3, our body temperature naturally dips. Because our body temperature, our core body temperature, has to be reduced to allow the onset of sleep. So that's why if you ever feel that you're really tired, you may feel cold as well.
Yeah.
Your body wants to go to sleep. Yeah, that's why. Yeah. So you may find in the afternoon, so your body actually does reduce in temperature. So if you take your temperature throughout the daytime, it may differ, and it's because of your body rhythms, right? Now only slightly, but it does. And so between 1 and 3 is the best time to sleep, probably, to have a nap rather, if you do absolutely need one. So this is all rhythmic.
Yeah.
This is all rhythmic, but the key is to listen to your body, right? And if you feel tired, that's the best time to have a nap, or just sit down, watch a comedy on the TV, or have a cup of tea, or whatever, just quiet time to help your body rejuvenate again, or restore itself, or whatever. So that's the circadian rhythm. So it's all this biological process. And one of the biggest insults, I suppose, to this circadian rhythm is people who do a lot of shift work, working at nighttime. It's like permanently having jet lag. And your body is always trying to get back in alignment with this circadian rhythm, because this is the natural cycle. When people are doing shift work, the body is continuously under stress, trying to get back into circadian rhythm. And it has been shown in the World Health Organization, they've classed shift work as a possible or a probable carcinogen, because because it's not the natural order of things in the body. We're not designed that
it all the time. Yeah,
you're constantly. Now, if you do shift work at nighttime and it's consistently the same time, that's probably not so bad, because you're in a routine. But it's this on off every 2 weeks, or whatever way some of them work.
That's especially doctors and nurses, people on the front line,
that's what's causing the havoc.
Wow.
So that's why I always say to people, if you wake up in the morning, go out and get sunshine, or even sit by a window, get the sunshine, because the sunshine switches off that melatonin. And it resets the circadian rhythm. It resets the first thing in the morning if you can get out and get it in sunshine. And even if it's not sunny, like in Ireland, it's not sunny. but it's still 50 times stronger than if you're inside the house. So always get outside, even if it's raining, or just sit by a window, even just get that natural sun first thing in the morning. Will help to reset that circadian rhythm. Really, really important.
Brilliant, brilliant. I love it. I love it.
Mm.
So what do you think is the, for everything that's going on right now, obviously we're in the middle of our very first pandemic. I mean, nobody's been through this before.
Mhm.
And now we're coming into the winter of that. What do you think is the best piece of advice to give people who may be suffering at the moment from either not getting the right kind of sleep, or they're not in the same routine as they would be normally if, say, they were going to work, or they're working from home, and they're faced with a whole new plethora of challenges, I suppose. What piece of advice would you give to them to help them to get that quality sleep that they need?
There's lots going on for people, lots of challenges at the moment, and there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure in various different forms, right? So it's to ease this pressure. So I know this sounds like in the midst of everything that's going on, but have a bit of fun, because a lot of people well, there is a lot of uncertainty, and when there's uncertainty, we don't know what's coming ahead, but look at that as a creative opportunity, a way forward of innovating and creating something new. That's one thing. But it's your attitude, right? If you look at all this as doom and gloom, hopelessness, it's really having the right attitude to what's going on and living with what is. It can be more acceptant, because we can't change what's happening, right, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So I can say to do the usual bedtime routines, and that helps. But I think really the strongest thing is to create a good attitude to have a look at your stress. Where are you finding stress in your life, and what are you telling yourself? What's the story you're telling yourself about that? And maybe reframe it. And the reason I say that is because how you are during the daytime is going to impact your sleep at nighttime. That's really because you're building up. Remember, I talked about this cortisol in the morning.
Yeah.
You want to be able to naturally reduce this cortisol. So, getting out and getting exercise is absolutely brilliant. And, I hate the word exercise. It could be just going for a walk and getting that sunshine. We need vitamin D. We need vitamin D for our immune system. Really, really important. And we also, serotonin, we get the serotonin from being outside in sunshine. Serotonin is a feel good hormone. We need that. It's a precursor for melatonin. So getting all that as well, providing the right environment for the body to do what it needs to do, to have the right hormones to help us sleep at nighttime as well, is really important. Eating the right foods. You don't want to be eating sugary foods, because that creates cortisol in the body as well. And it has so many negative effects on the body, sugar, and causes havoc in the brain as well. So really living a holistic lifestyle. But I think in terms of stress, really trying to reduce the stress and doing whatever it is that helps you have more fun. It could even be just appreciating things. Gratitude is massive, absolutely massive.
Absolutely. I've certainly found that in the last few months, the attitude of gratitude and being grateful for what you have, I think is so important right now. And, I tell my clients this all the time, look for as you said, look for the joy, look for the fun, it's so important right now, in this time of craziness and uncertainty, and nobody knows quite what's going to happen. So it really is an important one. So what would you say to people who, people are trying to get through the day, but they mightn't be doing it in the right way in terms of getting that quality sleep? So what would you say to people to avoid, I suppose, to help them to really, ramp up the sleep at the end of the day?
Do you know what the biggest one is to avoid is see these fantastic things. They're brilliant, right?
For audio purposes, Joanne is holding up a mobile phone.
Mobile phone, yeah, sorry. They're brilliant, right? They're fantastic. They've changed the way we live our lives. They make so much convenient. We bought our Zoom calls, brilliant. But the problem is we're using them too much, and we're using them at the wrong time as well.
Yeah, totally addicted to them.
Addictive. So many people are bringing their mobile phones and devices into bed at nighttime with us, and they do three things. They bring us down into this black hole, right? We have this dopamine release, and dopamine is the seek and reward hormone, and it's what keeps us glued to the phone. We keep scrolling and we're just looking for something to satisfy us so we can get
Yeah.
that hit, right?
Yeah.
And as well as that, it stimulates the brain, and we want the brain to slow down because it's all the brain waves, and we go through the brain waves change as we're going to sleep at nighttime and transition into the different phases. So the brain waves have to slow down, but they're not slowing down if you're continuously in high alert. And dopamine is an excitatory neurotransmitter, and so that's that. And then the other thing is the blue light. So the blue light is mimics daylight, and the circadian rhythm, as I said earlier, is influenced by daytime and nighttime. So when you're using a phone and there's a blue screen and it's mimicking daylight, it's confusing the body. And it's preventing us. And actually, for every, now I could be wrong, but it's for every hour you're on it, it diminishes 30 minutes worth of melatonin. It stops the production. So it has an impact. The longer you're on the phone, it's going to produce less melatonin. It definitely reduces less melatonin, that's for sure. In regards to how much, I can't remember now, but you don't want your melatonin being reduced. And
no, when you're trying to go to sleep.
yeah, so the mobile phones, like, really avoid using them at the wrong time, and like switch them off at least an hour or two before you go to bed, and turn off your Wi-Fi, because there's lots of reports coming out now, especially with 5G. 5G is very intense. It operates in like pulses, very strong pulses. And there has been studies shown that it can have an impact on the body right down to the cellular level. And 5G is only coming out now, so maybe in 10 years' time, we're going to see more illnesses in relation to that. Probably, there's lots of research been done on that at the moment. But your Wi-Fi, turn it off, turn your phone onto flight mode if you do absolutely need to use it as an alarm clock in the morning. So that's the biggest thing to avoid to help you sleep better at night.
Okay, brilliant. I love it. I love it. No, I'm guilty of that as well. And I literally have to make a decision to turn, I have an app on my phone called Freedom, and it just literally blocks it at a certain time at night. So before 10 o'clock, it's blocked, and I can't scroll and I can't look at anything.
Brilliant.
And it's been a lifesaver, I have to say, because you are curious and you're kind of, you want to nod off, but at the same time, you want to see what's going on in the world. And of course, there's so much going on in the world right now, and in the last week or so, but it's just that curiosity, and we are curious about everything. So you just need to.
Freedom. I never heard of that one. I'm going to take a note of that.
Yeah, do. It's great. You can put it on your phone and you can put it on your laptop, and it will literally cut things out at a certain time. You can set it up on your phone to do that.
There's actually a very good app to reduce the blue light in your laptop. Now, not that I'm encouraging people to use their laptops at night. It's called Flux, F.LUX. And it looks at your time zone, and it adjusts the blue light according to the time of day it is, wherever you are in the world. I think it only works on the laptops. For the phones, I know there's Twilight. And then for the iOS, the Apple phones, I think that has its own built-in one as well. But there are some pieces of software that you can use.
Brilliant. Thanks a million for that. That's a great piece of advice. So, Joanne, where can other people find you if anyone's looking to hear more about what you do and how you can help them to get back into their rhythms and, get good quality sleep? Where can we find you on the socials?
JohannCallaghan.com. And I'm on Facebook. If you just Google me, Johann Callaghan, now it's Johann, Johann Callaghan, you'll find loads of, and I have my own podcast, Empowering Family Health. So there's loads of interviews there, all about everything health and empowering people, and sleep, of course. So yeah, you'll find me there. Just Google me.
That's brilliant. So I will put those details up for everybody as well, so that they can go and find you. And it's been an absolute pleasure, Joanne. I'm so delighted we finally got to do this, because I know we've been talking about doing it for a while. So thank you so much for being so considerate of your time and also giving us so much brilliant information. It's been brilliant. And I hope this really helps people to realize the importance of sleep and how it affects us across the board in terms of our bodies, our immune system, our mood, our emotions. Like, it is so important, and just everything I read about sleep recently has really just hit home, that we cannot do without it.
Yeah, it can't be under. And actually, Lynsey, as well, just to let people know that I do a 15-minute free consultation call if anyone wants to reach out and talk to me and see what the next step would be in working with me. Or I have a 12-week live online course coming up fairly soon as well. I'll give you the links for that as well. But I have them on and off throughout the year anyway. So yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. And I look forward to maybe joining you on one of your courses and seeing what
Yeah.
that's all about.
Yeah.
We can all do with more sleep.
Absolutely. It cannot be underestimated. It will go a long way, absolutely. And it will just benefit you on all levels. It really will.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Joanne. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Lynsey. Have a fantastic day. Take care.